excellent day for an exorcism.
Welcome to Just Another Horror Podcast.
I'm John. Fuck capitalism!
I'm Lindsay, trying to write horror novels because I was a weird kid.
The whole world is your urinal.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Hello, and welcome to Just Another Horror Podcast. I'm John.
I'm Lindsay.
I'm M.
And we have a special guest from On Wednesdays We Talk Weird. It is Ashley.
Well, hi. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Tell us about yourself. What do you do? What's your shows?
Oh gosh. I'm a professional weirdo, so that's pretty cool. In all seriousness, I'm a full-time Fortean investigator. We actually don't make money investigating anomalous phenomena, so we have to do things like content creation. So I have two separate podcasts that you can consume right away. On Wednesdays We Talk Weird being the main one, and Monster Radio being show number 2. But I've got a ton of other stuff coming out when I got time.
I listen to On Wednesdays We Talk Weird. I haven't listened to Monster Radio yet. I love that show.
They're very different shows. Our tagline for On Wednesdays We Talk Weird is it's like Coast to Coast AM for people that fuck. Whereas Monster Radio is definitely more adult. Yeah, it's definitely a more grown-up take on some of the, and it's kind of more of a case study on different spooky creatures out in the wild. Whereas on Wednesdays We Talk Weird, it's just kind of, hey man, we throw it up, on the wall and whatever sticks, that's what we're talking about.
Definitely check out her show. Where all can you find it? Just anywhere podcasts are, right? Like,
oh gosh, anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere.
It's the only thing that comes up when you Google it.
Okay, so you can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Rate, review, and subscribe.
Or we gonna sue your balls to the wall.
Twitter, just a horror pod?
No, yours is just horror pod.
Oh, man.
Twitter, just horror pod.
Instagram is just a horror pod.
Well done, Lindsay. Sorry,
Hey! Come on, Twitter's a shit show anyway.
It is.
Yeah,
You don't
is.
have to follow Twitter. It's cool.
All right, so what did you guys watch? Lindsay, you can go first. What did you watch this week?
I watched The Watcher on Netflix. It was just like a 7-episode series from Ryan Murphy, and it's about a real thing that happened, that people were sending letters to these people that moved in this place in New York. I believe it was New York, right?
Nope.
I think the actual house was in Maryland.
Nope, that's wrong.
I think.
Oh, was it?
Like
the real one?
Yeah, My Favorite Murder. They did an episode about the.
Actually, as the professional weirdo, it's Circleville, Ohio.
Oh, man, you said it with such conviction, but that's also wrong. Nope, it's New Jersey, guys.
So, the actual house is Circleville, Ohio.
Do you guys ever wonder how many false facts we put?
This isn't the place for facts. What are you
No,
talking about?
definitely
I've seen that too. It was good. And it has Jennifer Coolidge. Anything with Jennifer Coolidge, I love
She's
it.
so funny.
Em, what'd you watch?
I binge watched Gypsy Sisters again.
Oh, again.
Not because it's good, because it's absolutely horrible.
I don't even know what that is.
It's what is it on? Tubi. I think it's on Tubi. And it's an old TLC reality show.
So hilarious. The Learning Channel, but when I watched one with her the other day, they were shoving their hand up a cow's butt to check for pregnancy, and by the end of the show, people were probably convinced that that's where the cow comes from, the butt.
Well,
So-
the gypsy girls on the show were like, they have their babies out their butts.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
The Learning Channel.
We're learning so much. It's a horrible, horrible show. I don't recommend it for anybody with any kind of intelligence, but I loved it. Entertaining.
All right, Ashley, did you watch anything?
I did. I didn't get to watch the Learning Channel, although it's one of my favorites. I love trash TV. Let me tell you, I'm a big fan. No, I watched Scream 6 over the weekend, which I am just gonna say that Scream 6 is Scream 2. So it's okay, but it's not, it's not great or whatever. And then I also watched oh gosh, Small Town Monsters, which does all these documentaries on cryptids and things like that. I guess they're doing a series on their YouTube channel, and this one's called Mysteries and Monsters, I think, and it's about a UFO cult in Mount Olympia. So that was interesting.
Sweet.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
I didn't watch anything at all, guys. I watched Aqua Teen on repeat again. So, same thing every week. Okay, Lindsay, do you have a plot synopsis for the movie The
I
Last Broadcast, which is what we're watching, or what we did watch?
A man films a documentary about 4 men who went into the Pine Barrens of New Jersey looking for the Jersey Devil, and only one survived.
The Jersey Devil, huh?
Yeah,
Not in
that
this
we see a lot
movie.
of the Jersey Devil.
Yeah, I
in this
was
movie.
really looking forward to learning about the Jersey Devil.
Yeah.
Yeah, me
Hey,
too.
Ashley, tell us some basics about the Jersey Devil, because this movie did not do that.
Oh gosh, yeah, you're right. It didn't at all. You go into it just assuming like you already know what the Jersey Devil is, which isn't really fair. So the Jersey Devil is a very, it's a very old lore out of typically the Pine Barrens area. It's like a bat type creature. It's not very big. It's usually like 3 to 4 feet tall. It has like the head of a horse. It has cloven feet. It's just kind of amalgamation of all these different animals placed together, and it terrorizes the fine folk of New Jersey, allegedly.
Well, they deserve it. I mean, it's Jersey.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to do a movie about that, maybe.
Yes, it'd be cool to see a movie about the Jersey Devil. It'd be
Yeah.
wonderful, but
Why? It's only 3 to 4 feet tall. Where?
do you remember that?
Yeah, it's
that,
not very big.
That background picture I had at work of that goat thing flying through the air,
Yeah.
and I kept telling you it was the Jersey Devil, and you're like, it looks like someone threw a goat in the air. Yeah,
That's it.
that's it.
Yeah,
So
that's
there's,
the
like,
Jersey Devil. Yeah.
there's, like, sightings and stuff, or is this? What's your take on it?
So there are sightings of it. I believe it was. I want to say it was 1906, but I'm probably getting my dates wrong. Who cares? That was over 100 years ago, right? It was sometime over 100 years ago. A lot of people saw this thing. As a matter of fact, there was like a flap that happened for like a 2 month straight, and like everybody was shooting at it. Local police were shooting at it. Some guy shot a freaking cannonball at it, and it didn't care. It just kept doing its thing. Napoleon, the famous Napoleon, his brother saw the Jersey Devil, lived in that area for a while. His brother saw the Jersey Devil and stayed there for a long time trying to hunt it. Found footprints of it, but never actually caught the body. So there are some like really credible sources of like where this thing comes from. But here's the thing about it. There is a famous picture of the Jersey Devil, drawing of the Jersey Devil, because there was a reward at the time that this thing was kind of terrorizing the area. And if you look at that picture of the Jersey Devil and you Google a picture of a hammerhead bat, they look eerily similar. So for all the listeners that have no idea what I'm talking about, go Google that fucker, because it definitely, I mean, it's almost uncanny. However, there's some issues with that. Hammerheaded bats aren't from North America, for one, and for two, this was happening in like January in Jersey. It would have been way too cold for this thing to have lived for 2 years. So I don't know what the hell's going on, but I think that people definitely saw something, whether it had been just a weird exotic animal or something different. But Jersey Devil sightings don't really happen much anymore.
Yeah, I haven't. Other than that one that I think it was a very, very, very quickly like, no, that's fake, of the one that I was telling you about, the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the latest one that I've ever seen. So
now is it just used to scare kids and whatnot?
Probably.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like Jersey's Blair Witch.
Okay. Yeah, I get that.
Are hammer-headed bats that large?
No, they're not. They're not, I mean, they're small. They're like bigger than the average bat, but no, 3 to 4 feet, no.
Yeah, I could think.
But people are notoriously terrible at measuring things, and we know that just on like everyday occurrences. That's why at like gas stations and convenience stores, there's like a height thing, because if someone robs the place, you don't want to like bet on the cashier or the witnesses that saw it to, guess, what the dude's height was. They know what it is, because we're just so bad at it.
And especially
Yeah.
at a distance.
Yeah, everything
Right.
everything is
Oh,
3
yeah.
to 8 feet for me. Somewhere in there.
I don't know how big one is taller than me.
That's it.
Yep.
Okay, so Speaking of the Blair Witch, this movie gets, like, people say that it's a predecessor to the Blair Witch, I guess because of the way it was filmed or the micro budget or something, but really this movie has very, very little in
Right.
common with that movie.
But found footage films weren't so big yet at that time, and it came out a year before the Blair Witch.
Right.
So there were similarities in like going into the woods searching for something like that.
There's another one too called the McPherson tape, which is like from 1989. It's like a the aliens in that are great. They're like rubbery and but yeah, there's and Cannibal Holocaust and this is where I push up my snob glasses and go Cannibal Holocaust is the first one.
That's
And
the
that's like
first found-
1980.
That's 1980
right?
and then there's like the Mondo footage from like the 70s and all that stuff. So
Cannibal Holocaust is the first found footage
What?
movie.
first-ish.
First-ish.
Who knows? You get a room full of nerds together and you'll get 8 different answers. So
Well, you're the only nerd that counts here.
Cannibal Holocaust, number 1. There. The beginning of this movie is like a documentary, and for like, I'm not going to get too far ahead, but for the first 40 minutes of this movie, it's very much like a finished documentary.
Yeah.
And we meet the narrator, who is David Lee, and the situation is this. A show called Fact or Fiction, which is like a low-budget midnight show, they've decided to use new technology, like the internet and stuff, to go out into the woods and look for the New Jersey Devil and broadcast it on both cable and the internet. And so they're trying to find all these people to do it with them, like a psychic, a sound guy, somebody to run the internet. And
Yeah, and then originally they had asked their viewers for suggestions, and somebody suggested
somebody.
doing the Jersey Devil.
How long did it... Okay, we're not going to tell you yet, listeners, who the killer is, but for each of you, how long did it take for you to figure out who the killer was?
I was still confused at the end. No.
Yeah, same. I was not satisfied with this. It took me embarrassingly too long.
That's my
Yeah, me
thing.
too.
I was left unsatisfied. I was like,
Yeah.
it did not keep my interest
Me
pretty
neither.
much throughout the whole thing. So then by the time it got to the end, it was like, all right, well, it's not the Jersey Devil. Like, I know that because nothing has been talked about regarding that. So it's got to be somebody else. And then when it turned out to be that guy, I was kind of like,
Who cares?
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
No idea why or how. I mean, like, but whatever. Okay.
This guy loves to blow himself. He says so many things in this that just this master of this orgy of violence. And if you know it's him, you're like, what a dickhead. But he does it
Right, yeah.
again and again.
Yeah.
And he got my hopes up because he said,
I
perhaps the demon we call the Jersey Devil did kill them. And what a
Right.
dick.
I really liked this movie. I did. I was really here for it all the way until the last 15 minutes. And then I was like, oh, fuck this fucking movie. It made me so mad because I liked it. I liked the documentary style. It did seem, some of the acting was really terrible, but it, for the most part, for found footage, seemed pretty viable and believable. I liked the flow of it. I didn't like the weird edits that were done sometimes. I could do without those. And then you get to the end, and I was like, well, what the hell, man? That just had absolutely no payoff at all. It's so disappointing.
From the moment that he got the tapes, which he, sent to himself,
Right.
from then on, I just gave it away. And I'm like, this movie's garbage, because what happens when he gets the tapes is it turns from documentary to like a mix of documentary and third-person camera work.
Yep.
Yeah, it
Which
was weird.
takes you completely out.
Yeah.
It doesn't...
That's the first time I think I wrote down, like, who is filming this?
Mhm.
Like, the whole aesthetic of it is gone.
Right.
So
Yeah, so for 40 minutes, this movie rules. And then the rest...
And they didn't use real actors. Like, they went to their
Yep.
local bookstore and asked somebody that worked there if he
Yeah.
would star in their movie, and he's like, sure. And then they just had friends and family playing other characters because it was cheaper than hiring real actors.
So Steven and Locus are the two directors. This movie was made for, what, $900? Like
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
$900.
that's so crazy.
I'll say this, for that, they did a great job
They really
for $900,
did. They
man.
got creative. They used like Chinese lanterns for lighting, which that would basically be like softbox lighting. It would be a good idea.
And when he's, at the very beginning, when he's talking and it's all spooky and it's just him with the one light, like, I think that they were like, you know, it's not lit well, but it still works.
Right,
you know?
yeah.
So they really did a good job managing their micro budget on this. So my favorite character in this movie is the ATF guy. He's got a T-shirt that says ATF.
Waco, Texas.
What? Oh, it says Waco, Texas.
It says ATF, and then underneath it says Waco, Texas.
What a jackass. I found it so... the more I thought about it, it was so funny that the killer goes to the ATF guy and lets him keep telling him, I'm 100% sure it was Jim Seward over and over.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. I love it.
Poor Jim.
I'm surprised. Well, I guess I don't. Are we talking about this as if people know what the end is, or are we not trying to spoil it?
Guys, David's the killer.
We always spoil it.
Yeah,
we always spoil it. I don't know what John's doing.
Okay.
Guy.
All right.
It's not revealed right away.
Because I was gonna say, yeah, it's the twist ending, right? That's the killer. But you know, I'm surprised he didn't kill that ATF guy. Like, you know, with all the, you know, talking up, because he was like super pissed off that people thought that this Jim guy was the killer. Like, he was mad about that.
Yeah, he's too stupid to pull something off like this. Yeah, okay.
Is that what David said?
Yeah,
right, but didn't kill that guy.
But at the same time, okay, so if David is basically like a serial killer, then he'd probably be like getting off on the fact that a cop is sitting there saying
That's
to him,
what I'm
like, I
saying.
know he didn't do it.
Right,
Mhm.
yeah.
Right?
He loves it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He goes to each one of these people for different reasons. Like, I think he goes to a couple of them so that they can tell him how his murders have helped them in their careers and feel good about himself, like he did something good. I'm not 100% sure why he took the tape to Michelle, because it introduces her as Michelle, and later on he's calling her Shelley, which tells me he knows her. He has a relationship with her, and he wanted her to know it was him before he killed her.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Maybe it was just satisfying for him.
That could be it. I mean,
was that the plan? Oh, that's what I was really
Just so
confused about.
somebody knew.
Right.
And I wonder, like, was this for his first time committing
Yeah.
murders, or had he done this kind of thing before? I wonder, murdered people.
And why the fact or fiction guys who like and
Yeah,
Yeah,
what's
like,
that?
why did he do all this? I wonder.
There are cases like this where people who are doing a show or something get lured out and get murdered. I didn't write them down. I should have, but this is a thing that has happened before. But yeah, I don't understand why you...
Well, he talked mad shit about the Steven guy. Like, that, like, it wasn't just him. Like, everybody else was talking shit about that guy too. But he also, as a narrator, was like talking mad shit about him. And so I don't know if they had some type of personal relationship beforehand. It kind of makes sense, because if they're like, because I kind of saw it as, why did he kill these people? Well, it's so that he could make his own movie, and a damn good movie at that, some type of true crime documentary. Like, that
Right.
was his ultimate fantasy. Well, then if they're both film guys, then they probably do know each other somehow. They run in the same like film type circuit, and there's just some untold story there that we don't really know that made it easy. I don't know. He's just like, oh, that Steve guy's a jackass. I'll choose him and his buddies. You know, I have no idea. But it seemed like he didn't like him very much either. And that was the only body that was never found.
nobody
Right.
liked him. Oh, right.
Yeah, I wonder where his body ended up, or where he ended up. Was he still alive?
They
or-
absolutely never touched on. There's no way he
Yeah.
was alive, though. Like, that was a lot of blood.
Well, yeah.
So,
Well, and I don't even understand how if Jim got separated and ran away from everybody, how did he get, it was 17 drops of blood
Right,
from
that's what I
the
was
other
wondering.
3. Like, how did that even happen?
Yeah, like that's not a lot of blood, but
Yeah.
how did he get it on them? He had
it's
it from all 3 of
possible
them.
that he was walking through the area and it had gotten on, like, plants or bushes or something. But the thing that I
But he
found...
didn't find the bodies and stuff.
No, he didn't.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he could have walked through, not known it was there, got it on his shirt, kept walking.
Yeah,
been
but it
looking
was
around.
more like splatters.
That was
right?
weird.
Yeah.
And the other weird thing was, like, all 3 samples on a completely clean shirt were like dot, dot,
Yeah.
dot.
And I also thought, is it possible that the cops could have like planted that because they wanted to solve the crime? Because you know
They
how
were
cops
doing
can be,
that.
like they want to just act like it's all solved, so they're great cops.
He
I
didn't
think we're
care.
supposed to like, yeah, I think we're supposed to like assume that David is such a mastermind genius killer that somehow he put the blood on the t-shirt. I don't know how. Again, there's just a lot that they don't
That's what I was
go
just
into.
saying.
But yeah, I think that's what
But
we're
if-
supposed to assume.
But if he frames Jim for it,
He didn't. He didn't. What happened here is, it just came to me.
you had an epiphany.
I had an
saw you.
epiphany. Yeah, my eyes lit up. what happened here is the cops did frame him because they couldn't figure out who did it.
Yeah,
And he's pissed off because, hey, I did this. Recognize me. So he goes and makes a whole fucking documentary about it, including putting the ATF guy in there to be like, I am positive we did this. With him knowing, like, no, you didn't. And he's like, throughout the documentary, I'm going to prove he didn't do it. Like, that's really important to him.
You don't think he was planning on doing the documentary from the beginning?
No.
But that would give him more of a motive, like wanting to do the successful documentary.
Right, but why would he want to frame Jim and then be like, they framed... Oh, you might be right. Oh, man, I'm getting all confused.
He just has to have a motive, and he never fucking just says like, hey, this is my motive, you guys. He just kind of is like, I mean, he did what he said he was going to do in this movie, right? He was going to prove that Jim didn't do it. But he never explains to us why. And I suppose maybe that's up for interpretation. Initially, that's what I thought was going to happen here, was that it was going to be up for interpretation. Like, we weren't going to know who the killer was. And I think, honestly, it would have been a better movie had they done that. And then at least maybe we could have thought for just half a second that it might have been the Jersey Devil.
Right, I agree.
Having already seen it, I was still putting in my notes, come on, Jersey Devil, change this movie for me, man.
Yeah.
So did David have Jim killed in prison?
That never is explored at all.
What do you think, though?
Maybe. It says mysterious circumstances. They don't even say, like, he had a heart attack or... So maybe...
And he's a young guy.
He could have had him killed. Maybe. There's so many things that don't make... But if you're looking at it from the perspective of an unfinished documentary, then we're not going to get a lot of the answers that we want.
Very true.
Which is what it turns into at the end, is an unfinished documentary.
Well, he finishes it by killing somebody on camera.
Right, but
basically.
He hasn't done the editing yet in the second half. The first half is very professional looking. The second half is like haphazard. He's in the shot, he's out of the shot, he's up in his own face, he's recording his face all of a sudden out of nowhere, and it's just different.
Right, yeah.
Like he's on the fly.
But at the end there, when he was suffocating her, was that really
who?
on camera? Like, was he filming it? Or, because that's when the whole tone changed and it made it feel like it was just a normal movie, kind of. So is that just we're witnessing that? Nobody's really filming it? Like...
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, who was filming him killing Shelley? Like, clearly something happened. I guess it could have been a perspective change, because we did see him holding up the camera to his face when because the last shot is him filming out in the woods with Shelley's body there, and he's holding the camera up to his face, and we see that part with the microphone. So we see him filming himself, and we see that same shot just before he killed Shelley, where he says, hey, I'm going to go out here and reenact these murders. And then if he was going to go out and reenact those murders, was he going to murder more people? Because he was out there by himself.
Man.
No idea.
Did you notice in some of the shots there was a hole so she could breathe?
Oh, yeah.
I was wondering, I really felt bad for her. I was like...
But it shows it right in the movie. You can see there's a hole in there. Some of the shots, not all of it.
They don't got the money to get a stunt person in a... No way!
I was like, she needs to breathe! Like, I wasn't even thinking about the character. I was thinking about the actress.
Yeah. That kind of death is the death I hate to watch the most.
Suffocation.
Yeah.
Suffocation bothers the shit out of me, man. Like, I watched Jason Takes Manhattan, and he's like stabbing people and dropping them on shit, and I'm like, yeah! And then he chokes a girl in a ballroom, and I'm like, ugh, come on, man. Poke her eyes out or something. They pick up a psychic named... The guy that is blamed for this is a psychic.
Or at least he claims to be.
Do they believe him?
You know, I think they kind of do. He does a couple tricks that make them believe him.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, if they don't believe him, and they're letting him wander them around in the woods for 3 hours, that's 17-year-old John getting picked up by a helicopter in the woods, stupid.
Right. I think they did believe him. It seems like they did.
Yes. Except for that Ryan, R-E-I-N.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only one that seemed to have a problem with him, and then that seemed to spread to the other two.
Yeah, it took me till the end of the movie when they show the entire context of that argument, but that argument is the worst acting in the movie, bar none. He's like, hey, I'll see you back at camp.
Right.
And then they show it over and over.
And he runs off in
He
his
ru-
drug run.
Where's he going?
That was when they were like, "Are you a psychic or a psycho?" Right?
It seemed to come out of nowhere.
Sick burn.
It actually really reminded me of the Blair Witch when he kicks the map.
Right, yeah. But that's so much better.
Oh, yeah. This
But
gives
it's
me a
the
new
same-
appreciation for that.
It's the same kind of like, really? Like,
Right,
really?
yeah.
No, that's not going to happen.
But at that point, like, if this guy, first of all, he's been just wandering around. You don't know where you are. It's freezing cold. Secondly, you haven't done any preparation whatsoever besides just following this psychic around in the woods. Like, I don't know why the ATF or whatever didn't think to themselves, there could be someone else out here.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
I've gone in the woods, and there's been other people in the woods.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, the only reason that they blame Jim is because he was the only other person there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were lazy, and it was an election year. That was it.
Which
And
actually
he survived.
It comes
Yeah,
into play
that
a
too.
lot. The election year stuff, that actually comes into play a lot. Like DAs looking to get like further their political career and stuff. That actually, I think a lot of people get put away unnecessarily just because people are trying to get reelected.
Yeah, definitely.
I have something in here about Gypsy Sisters. It's because of the editing. So the editing, they have to take these tapes and turn Jim into a monster. And so they're cutting out so much. And I think this is a good movie in that way, in that it explains how editing can completely change something.
Yeah.
Like, when we were watching that show, I was like, how in the world do they make a show out of this?
Mhm.
But I'm sure that they send them like hours and hours and hours of footage and go make
hundreds of hours.
and make 1 hour of a show out of this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they basically turn this guy into a total monster. Like, they have a picture where the three of them have their hands in, and he's on the outside, and the picture is like he's far off and giving him a sinister look. But then they let it play, and he's like, it was like a half of a second that he was standing there like that.
Mhm. Yeah, they do pictures of celebrities, and
Mhm.
if you pause it on just the right frame, you can make it look however you want.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like he was pretty easy to frame because, I mean, he was different. He was probably just posing as being a psychic, and like he was really into the internet and magic.
So,
and, like,
so the reason I asked, do they believe him, is because the numbers on his arm were pretty close to the date they were going, if not like 1 day off or something like that.
right?
How
Yeah,
in
but
the,
he did that.
did he know when they were going?
I don't know. But I'm sure that he like made it so that would show up on his arm.
Yeah, I mean, he made the date, but like, why did he
But
make that date?
it wasn't the exact date that they went, though.
Right, it was a little off, but still, it was close. So, do you think he's psychic?
I mean, not really. Do you?
No,
I don't think he's psychic.
Yeah.
He's definitely not psychic.
yeah, probably not.
No.
That means he's psycho.
He called the 911 and he's like, I have a bad feeling. And I'm like, ooh, he does know things. Okay, so they did say the last broadcast, so that's 1 point for the movie.
Correct.
Yeah, they said the name of the movie in the movie. So they have a thing called an IRC. They call it an IRC chat, which means they're saying Internet
Yeah.
Relay Chat,
Right.
but
It's like chai tea.
yeah, it's like a AIM. Sorry, I'm so goddamn old, and I talk like an old person.
I got you beat, though.
Yeah. But basically, they're chatting with like fans and stuff out in the woods, and at one point there's like a 45-minute window where Jim is gone,
Right.
and I have the ATF guy saying, that's an awful long time not to respond to people on the internet. And I'm like, that guy gets a ton of dates.
He always responds.
Oh, yeah. When he leaves the camp for 45 minutes, that's when they're being murdered? Or what's going on?
That's
Where is
what
he?
they're assuming anyway.
Where did he-
That's what
But-
the police are assuming.
Yeah.
Where did he go?
He went to pee or poop, whatever, in the woods.
For a long, long time.
That is a long time.
45 minutes?
I mean, I would walk 45 minutes away to
Maybe
get
he
away
was
from
just-
everybody before I pooped.
Yeah, maybe he was just
Definitely.
taking a break. He wanted to go off, be by himself for a little bit.
Maybe he fell asleep.
Maybe.
That could be too.
Maybe he was chatting with somebody else in a
Hears
different
screaming,
chat room.
rolls over, puts the pillow on his head.
Never know.
All right,
Yeah,
so
because he,
He probably found the Jersey Devil when he was busy,
that's
Maybe.
true.
you know, hanging out with the Jersey Devil. I don't know.
God,
Yeah, it's
I'd like to see that movie.
Yeah, I know.
He had to have gotten pretty far to not hear any screaming or struggling of any sort. So.
Right.
Well, but what's his name was 1.5 miles from the campsite, and the other guy was 2 miles from the campsite.
Did you guys see the shape that the
So and
thing made?
Ooh,
Illuminati.
So it would have taken quite a while for somebody, especially if you're not. I mean, you'd have to be running basically to go 1.5 miles, and then at another angle to 2 miles out. I mean, you're basically going about 5 miles approximately.
Yeah.
In 45 minutes. I can't do that.
Oh my God, no.
No, I mean,
Absolutely not.
In the woods, in the dark, at night, like,
Right.
I don't think I would classify that as easy to cover.
Well, the ATF guy's like, you don't have to be an Olympic sprinter, but you have to be in shape a little bit. I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
And know where you're going in the dark.
yeah. Well, he's psychic. He knows where he's going.
Well, fuck the ATF.
Yeah. Jim dies in jail, and then a package shows up on January 3rd at David's house, which is just David sending himself a package, because then it zooms out and he's digging through the box, and he decides to take it to a woman named Michelle Monarch. The first shot that we have of her is the most stalker shot of anybody I've ever seen in a movie.
All right, she's walking outside of a building,
Yeah, I'm
and
like,
he's like filming from far away.
if you had her permission to do this, why would you choose this shot?
Right, yeah.
Do you think they were dating,
Something. They know each other. They have to know each other, because
or
he
he
keeps
was
calling her
trying
Shelly.
to date her?
I don't know.
I agree that they knew each other somehow.
Yeah, but I have no idea what or why.
Yeah.
They couldn't have been that good of friends. He choked her out and killed her. So,
That's how you show your love.
Right, yeah.
right,
I mean, a lot of the time, people that murder people that are close to them, those are the most violent murders.
Yeah. Is there any reason that Shelley was working out of a tent covered in plastic? That's what it looked like to me.
I don't know. Like, that was also weird. Like,
I know, it looked like a Dexter kill room.
yeah, it was like she was getting ready to get murdered or something. Like, she set it all up.
Yeah.
The thing that was most frustrating about her is that it kept cutting back to her circling on that thing and kept counting down and kept showing, and I'm like, this movie's really starting to get into the mud and slog a lot.
Mhm.
It was cutting back between her twisting this VHS cassette and him walking around in the woods. And I was bored. So bored that I typed, my fingers are going tippity tappity tap tap. I just want to hit all these keys. Vroom, ha ha.
Your notes?
Those are my notes.
Good job.
Movie did not hold my attention.
Mine either.
Me neither.
I agree with you.
And also, and I know you've told me this before, but why do these people keep choosing the winter time to go out into the woods and do these expeditions?
Right.
And at night, too.
December, January in New Jersey. Out in
Yeah.
the woods.
No, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
Just, this is the worst scouted out project ever, and the fact that they ended up dead, I know that they were murdered, but the fact that they ended up dead is not a surprise. How they got killed is a surprise, but them being dead really isn't. The one guy even says, I knew this was going to be a disaster from the minute they started trying to do this. He's right.
Mhm.
I mean, they're dead, so of course he's right. But he's right.
Did they even make comments about how it wasn't well planned?
No.
Like I thought they were getting on Steve's case because he was kind of like, just do it. Like, we're just going to do it. We're just going to get it
And
done.
he said if it was going to be authentic, it needed to be authentic, which meant that if they thought he was really psychic, then they're going to follow him wherever he goes.
Okay.
But I don't think they thought.
So what happened to the guy that they hired to direct the whole thing? Like that long-haired like hippie dude with the glasses? Like why wasn't he there?
He had directed soap operas before, and I guess Steven had
Paying him.
worked for him before. He had like mowed his lawn before, so that's how he got him to direct
Oh my
it.
God.
Mowed his lawn.
But what was he direct? He wasn't there. He was.
But he
nowhere
wasn't
near-
out there in the woods with them.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Maybe he was just doing editing and stuff, or I don't know.
Maybe he was like, "Fuck this! This isn't a scouted out project. I'm not gonna do it."
Yeah,
Like,
maybe he bailed on them, but they never mentioned that. If he did,
yeah, they just kind of abandoned that. I don't know what
Yeah.
happened to him. He went on to do other stuff, but like, I don't know how because he wasn't involved with anything that happened.
right?
They went to him to direct, paid him, and then he didn't go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's super weird. It's like it's like as a movie, like halfway through filming, that guy's like, okay, well, I've got other stuff that I have to do. Like this other company just called me, so I'm gonna go do that. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. And then they just never like took that part out. They just kept it in.
Right.
what if David knew some of these people, and like because he had to know when they were going, where they were going. Like, did he follow them the whole way out there? Because they would notice that, right?
He had to have, though, right? I mean, how do you...
They wandered into the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So how did he find them?
He would have had to have been following, though.
Unless Jim told Dee where exactly they... But what would he say? We're in the middle of the woods?
Right, yeah.
Like...
So you think Jim might have been in on it?
No, but I think that he got information from people like maybe the director or Jim or somebody to find this stuff out. Like, I think maybe he might have known the director, and that's why he went back to him and he's like, hey, you were paid to direct, and then he just dropped it. Like, maybe he was like, okay, this is where they're going, this is when they're going, that's where you can go get them. Because that, like he said, helped his career take off.
Right, yeah.
So,
but that stuff could have easily been tracked back to him if they would talk to...
They're not going to do that. They're busy collecting fake blood evidence and shit like that. Like, yeah, we don't know where this guy came from or where he went. It doesn't say. This movie leaves a lot of questions unanswered, and that's just another one. So
we need to lay off road.
Definitely. I hope the Jersey Devil did all this. Snark. Something more horrendous. Oh, yeah, he goes, what are they running from? It was too big and monstrous to have been Jim. Something more horrendous and impossible to imagine. And then I have jizzes all over self. This dude must have done the Marilyn Manson surgery on himself and pulled out his ribs to get to the dick as much as he did in this movie.
It didn't occur to me, but I think if I watched it over again, knowing that it was him, that all of that
That's
stuff...
That's probably why.
You know what I mean? Because it's my first time watching it. So you knowing who did it, I think, picked up on the... bravado that was coming out of this guy.
Yeah, I have how many times can one man jerk off in 90 minutes? 4. I counted 4. I can do 3 daily if I push myself to the limit. He kills Shelley after... Well, first he takes a tape. Shelley figures out it's him, and he beams in from outer space. I don't know what that shot was. I have no idea what I was looking at. Yeah, it was so quick.
That was weird.
It made no sense. He's got a camera and a big light, and then it cuts, and it's so weird and jarring.
What about the light they saw in the woods? The two of that, the two.
Yeah, I know, they got weird names.
Locust.
That was their friends. That was that one guy's flashlight.
Oh yeah, he went out wandering and never came back, and they found his light. And then when they went over to it, they found all the blood.
Steven's light, but they didn't call out to him or anything like that.
They did very quietly. They were like, Steven. Hey. So they see something and they run, and stabby stab sounds. So you can hear stabbing. No screaming, just stabbing. So maybe that's why Jim just slept through it.
Why would they not be screaming, though? That's weird.
They're just like, ow, damn.
Yeah. I didn't even hear the stabbing.
I don't know if it was stabbing or snow, but it was just gross sounding.
Confusing to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think if I watched it again, I would pick up on that, but there's no fucking way I'm watching this again.
No, never ever. There was also a very blatant thing that happened that I don't understand, where they superimposed the picture of him over the road, a shot of the road, like a still shot. It looked like that dude who's always singing over the mountains in that video. It gave it away. Like, before it was revealed that it was him, it shows his angry face, and I'm like, I was mad at myself because I've seen it before. I'm like, how did I not catch any of this? Like, ugh. But
you think it was worse the second time around?
A million times worse, because if I had remembered how bad this was, we would not have, well, I guess because we were trying to mix a crypto monster with a horror movie, we would have picked this, but I also forgot that the Jersey Devil has nothing to do with this.
Right.
So,
Ashley, do you have any good cryptid type movies that you would recommend?
Over this one, absolutely. There's definitely others. Bigfoot has tons of them. Exists is one that is all right. Primal Rage. But there's the one Willow Creek. The Legend of Boggy Creek would have been better. Antlers, that's a good one about the Wendigo. I mean, there's a lot of them compared to whatever the hell this is. And guys, I have watched this movie now, embarrassingly, because of you. This is your fault. I've watched it 3 times.
Sorry about that.
So thanks for that.
Oops.
It's okay. Like I said, I really like it up until like the last 15 minutes. But now I know what's going to happen, right? So I'm like, damn it, I already know. It's just going to be a big ball of disappointment. And it is each and every time. But I don't know why they did that. They ruined the movie with the ending. And it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, I think they were just trying to do like a big twist ending, and it did not work.
There's so many other ways they could have done it. Like, they could have had him be the killer, but like not change the perspective.
Do it differently.
Yeah, I mean, it would still kind of be like, oh, bullshit, but not as jarringly awful.
Yeah,
like not so different from the rest of the movie.
Could have been like so bad it's good. Like it could have landed in that category easily, and it could have became a cult classic because of that. But because it ends so fucking bad, it's just not going to be anywhere except for obscure podcasts every once in a while where people kind of talk about it. And I was really excited to watch this. Actually, I didn't find out about this movie until the height of the pandemic, and at the time, you couldn't stream it anywhere and you couldn't buy it anywhere. So the fact that like you can stream this at all just 3 years later is amazing. But I had to watch like a really terrible, like a terrible quality cut of it on YouTube, which I think added to it a little bit more, just because it gave it that much more camp. So maybe that's why I feel not as terrible about it, because it's got a place somewhere for me. But I can see why they tried to like bury this thing and act like it didn't exist.
They also tried to get it into film festivals, but being on a $900 budget made it like almost impossible. So there was like one Blu-ray release that was like really well done, put together, and that's basically it. So
they did say it's made like $4 million, and like,
damn,
that's really good for a $900 budget.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
I mean, I don't know how and on what platforms, because it is just on YouTube. You can just watch it for free on YouTube.
I pirated it a long time ago, and it was shitty.
I watched it on. It was on a like Tubi or something like that. I can't remember what it was.
I think I watched it on Tubi.
Yeah.
I watched it twice. I think I watched it on Tubi and then I watched it on YouTube, because the first time I watched it, I'm like, this didn't even stick in my head because I was bored. But I had to watch it a second time.
We only get so many hours on this earth, and we've spent 3 to 6 of them watching this movie. Right. Good choices.
Yep. Heard.
Well, that's what this genre is like. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah, you watch 50 movies to get a good one. All right, I'll go first on this. I'm just going to be short about it. I can't properly express how much the end of this movie ruins the rest of the movie. I wish the Jersey Devil ran out and ate David. 5 out of 10.
5?
Wow, you were talking like you were going to give it a 1.
You gave it
Why
a
did I give
5?
it? Oh, I was so high. Damn it.
You can always...
Everything's better when I'm high. It's like a 2 or 3. Shit. All right. Next is Ashley.
Okay, yeah, I'll go. Well, obviously, clearly, I'm in agreement with your statement, but I'd say it's a 4. I mean, watch it. Let the curiosity take you away and watch it, but don't expect anything good.
Lindsay?
I'm gonna give it a 3.5. Like, it was underwhelming, and the end really did ruin a lot of it. But like, the documentary style was pretty well done, and especially for a $900 budget. So there's some positives.
Yeah, a few. Okay. And M.
I'd say, okay, I am impressed with the amount of money they spent, and also how it was edited and the footage and stuff. See, they made it on like a laptop, basically, right?
They used Adobe something. I can't remember.
Right. So just for using very basic equipment for what they did with it, that would be a positive. So that's a point. It felt very much to me like just like a group of friends getting together to try and make a movie. Like the Waco polo shirt almost seemed like an inside joke to me. Like it seemed to like they were there were a few times in there where something could have almost been like an inside joke, like a funny thing, but it just didn't work really.
Mm-hmm.
And then a point because they said the name of the movie. So
thank you. I was going to point that out.
2.
Well, that's going to do it this week, right, guys?
Yep.
All right. Thank you again for joining us, Ashley. This was awesome. This was fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me. And even though the movie was fucking terrible, it's still fun to talk. I haven't gotten to talk about this yet. I've done tons of other horror podcasts and nobody's had me talk about cryptids yet. So this was a first. So thanks for that.
Well, maybe next time we'll get you an actual cryptid in your cryptid movie.
Yeah, maybe we can do one of those ones that you suggested.
Just remember, if ever attacked by a mob of clowns, go for the juggler.
Oh, that was good.